very, very different now. That was a long, long time ago. Rabbits have come like exponentially far since I was actually raising them. Like the English spots today don't look anything like the ones I had. They're way better. I mean, there's been some fabulous work done. And the same thing is true for mini Rex. The mini Rex, I did have mini Rex. I got them from Monaberry Hill as a teenager. And the mini Rex were kind of a sickly breed. I lost a lot of them. They died frequently of respiratory infections. And that was a problem with that breed. But people just adored mini Rex. So that didn't stop them. I mean, they were very, very popular. Quickly became the most popular breed in ARVA, could be argued. They still are because they're little and because of their fur. They're little, meaning they eat less, they poop less, they require smaller cages, yet they're basically a miniaturization of the standard Rex rabbit. So in terms of pelt, if you were pelting these guys out, it would probably be better to have standard Rex because they just simply get larger. Just like the giant chins and the Flemish giants were developed for pelts. They're giant for a giant pelt, right? Mini Rex are little. So it would take a lot more mini Rex to make a coat, you know, than it would take standard Rex. So mini Rex are more of a fancy type of rabbit. They're a pet breed. That's kind of commonly known because they're small. People like them as pets. But fur is a big, big deal for mini Rex. So back to the fur thing. Like I know Sarah was talking a lot about all the different types of regular furs. My first mutt rabbit had a regular fur coat. Probably was heavily influenced by New Zealand because that's about how big it was. And it was a broken black. Well, I bred that rabbit to a friend's lot buck. And it had a bunch of mutts. And I kept a buck out of that bunch of mutts. And actually, I kept them all. It was 3 or 4, and I kept them all. And the buck, there was only one buck. I bred him back to his mother. And I didn't know what I was doing at the time. He was the only buck I had, so that's what I did. I didn't know that was a line cross, which is many, many, many breeders line breed. Don't be scared of line breeding. I hate it when people send me messages and say, I want an unrelated pair. I'm like, seriously? You want to outcross rabbits? That's like the most challenging thing you could do. Line breeding is more consistent. It's more predictable. You know what you're going to get if you breed within a line. So be wary of buying rabbits from all over the place, just so that they're unrelated, so that you can cross unrelated genetics together. Rabbits are not people. Okay, there's nothing wrong with breeding fathers to daughters, aunts to nephews or whatever. You know, it just, if you know what you're doing and you match up the traits right, it works out really well. But when I bred this doe back to her son, she had a Rex-coated baby. What happened? Okay, that was my first exposure to Rex fur. I was like, what is this? I mean, we named that rabbit Pickles. He was black and white. He was beautiful. I loved him. I just loved the fur. Now, it was a poor Rex coat. Looking back, he had protruding guard hairs and all that. But it was still Rex fur, and it was still mesmerizing. So I like genetics a lot. So Sarah didn't mention much genetics about fur. But normal fur is dominant. Okay, so what you would see in her Palomino, wherever it went, that is a dominant type of fur. The Rex is recessive. So my doe was carrying the allele for recessive Rex fur, and when I crossed her to her son, which also carried the allele for recessive Rex fur, that's how I got a recessive Rex buck. Now, a mini Rex will never produce anything but Rex. Or any Rex-coated rabbits. Now, the Rex coat is exactly the same for mini Rex as it is for standard Rex. There's no difference. Let's see. I see. It's exactly the same coat in a standard Rex as the mini Rex. It's a recessive allele, so you're never going to get standard coated kits. But if you cross this rabbit to any other type of coat, like for example, if you cross this rabbit to a mini satin, you would get all standard fur. You wouldn't get satin, you wouldn't get Rex, because both of those are recessive to normal fur shafts. Okay, you could pull them back out in subsequent generations, but that's not for the faint of heart. It takes a lot of cage space and a lot of patience to cross breeds in order to pull out traits later. I know a few people that have done it, but it's challenging.
Yeah, I've heard, like, there's somebody that I've been following in the Midwest that's doing Reza, and she makes it sound like it's, I mean, there's some New Zealand in it, but it's mainly, she says they carry 50% Rex, 50% satin, and she kind of gets every other, depending
It is not for the faint of heart. I mean, you've got to have a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of cages, and a lot of patience. Okay, just like even working on an undeveloped variety that's in development, or I have a breeder that wants me to work on a development of fox, the torted otters and mini rex. That's gonna be a pain because you can't show them, you know, and it's just a lot of resources into something you can't show and that's kind of unpredictable, and it's hard to get because you're dealing with two non-extension.
We worked on the otter mini rex with Armando Cabrera,
Okay.
and we had many cages of rabbits that couldn't go anywhere. They were just production for the next step and the next step and the next step.
That's right. Absolutely right. So I would not recommend that to like people that aren't well seasoned and up for a challenge, okay? And not for the faint of heart. But back to fur. Okay, so this breed, and I did not look at the Rex standard because I don't raise standard Rex. So if y'all want to look it up, you can.
There's a difference of 5 points in the
Is
fur.
there? Okay.
One's 35, one's 40.
Okay, so the standard Rex actually has 5 more points on fur than the mini Rex, if that's the case. Because mini Rex has 35 on fur.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mini Rex also has 15 on color. What do you think makes color? Is color related to body structure, or is color related to fur?
Fur.
Color is related to fur. So between fur and color, you've got 50 points. That's half of the rabbit. So if your rabbit is in the middle of blowing its coat and there's just fur flying everywhere, leave them at home. They're not going to win. They're not ready.
Save your money.
Save your money. Wait till they're ready. Give them a little time to finish the job. Okay. There's 5 points on condition also. Now, condition is both. Condition is fur and body, because condition is felt in how firm the rabbit is. Condition is felt in how the fur feels. Okay, because a rabbit that is out of condition might have a burnt coat. I had a buck I almost brought that his coat almost looks like hazy brown color because it's old. That would be an example of bad condition. Extremely good fur, but really bad condition. That one condition means he's not competitive at all, even though I know it's only 5 points. A judge is not going to say, oh, well, he gets all 50 points he gets all 35 points, but his color's a little brown and he's in bad condition, so therefore he's still going to win the class. That's not the way it works. I mean, the rabbit has to kind of jump out at you in terms of its balance and its complete packageness. So that's why, even though fur, you could argue, is a little more important than type, if you don't have type, the best coat in the world, you're still going to have an ugly rabbit, you know, as far as the showing goes. Now, the fur classes are different. For fur classes, what they do, she's probably not going to let me do it. But what they do is they stretch the rabbits out like this. The reason why they do that is they want to see this fur down here. Okay? And then they'll evaluate. She doesn't like it, but they're gonna evaluate the fur that way. And you can see on the stuff. I don't know if you can see on the stuff, but you can see a line. Do you see that line here? You see the line in her hindquarters? So that's where the coat on the top is finished and has fully transitioned. This inch down here is not quite done. See, there's still little furs coming out, and she hasn't completely finished. So when the standard talks about finish and evenness of coat, it is also talking about where the rabbit is timed in its transition of coats. So that's not something that is wrong with the rabbit per se. It will correct. Give her another month, and she'll be completely finished. Now, the